Well, would you look at that? It's Jebro doing a video on Ashes of Creation. Yes, it's an MMORPG. Yes, it's by Intrepid. Yes, it's in alpha. I don't know what stage they're in at the moment. I lost contact with this game and its production and everything else a while ago because it's one of those things where, you know, there's tons of other games and lots of stuff in production, but I'm going to start making some reaction videos for you lot because I know you appreciate that kind of thing. Don't forget to check out the Patreon. These videos are going to come out a little bit earlier on there from after this one. So if you do want to check out content about Ashes of Creation, Guild Wars 2 and other games, make sure you check that out. As well as being able to support the channel, which massively helps me as I am in school and doing all the things and creating content on Twitch as well as YouTube. And that's going to ramp up a little bit more as I do kind of reaction videos as well. So what this is a reaction video to a Archetype, which has been released in terms of information on YouTube via trailers and whatnot, on the tank archetype. Now, an archetype alone doesn't determine your class. A class is something else. A class is actually a primary archetype mixed with your second archetype. And at the moment, as I understand it, your primary archetype is where you get all your skills and whatnot from, and then your secondary kind of buffs up your passives and everything else. Okay, my research on this is somewhat lacking, but that's not what this video is about. I will make a separate video on classes and we'll get down to the nitty gritty. We're going to be learning together, and that's what is going to be so awesome about this series or ton of content I'm making on Ashes of Creation. But basically, we're going to go through this video, talk about the skills, the look of the game, the graphics. We're going to talk about loads of stuff. It's still alpha, it's still early, but there are a lot of this stuff, a lot of meaty content is coming out, and it's something I want to do, something I want to look at. This is going to be an MMORPG that I will be playing, and hopefully with a ton of you as well, and I'm excited to get involved in it right away. So when I'm talking about classes, for example, so there are archetypes, right? There's a bard archetype, a cleric, fighter, mage, ranger, rogue, summoner, and tank. Okay, yes, I'm reading this on the other page. This is on their website. And then you can cross-section that with themselves again, and then you come up with your class. So i.e. a cleric with a bard is going to be a scryer. A cleric who's just a cleric with primary and secondary, I'm not sure how that works totally, would be a high priest. A ranger mixed with a cleric is going to be called a soul bow. There are a lot of classes here. I believe it's 64 potential different classes. In some games that's worked, in some games that hasn't worked as well, because you just find that there is just this normal meta, which is going to happen in any MMORPG you ever play, or any game where it's just like, you know, there's a ton of different classes you can play, but these are the best ones for doing the content. But it doesn't mean you can't play the way you want to play. And that's an important thing to remember, because a lot of people tend to do that more often nowadays, especially casual MMORPG goers. Which is what a lot of people are trying to cater towards nowadays in MMOs like Guild Wars 2, like Elder Scrolls Online, and Final Fantasy 14 as well, especially with the openness of it, and World of Warcraft to a degree, because of their looking for raid groups and stuff, which is a little bit more casual and easier to pick up and get involved in different aspects of the game. Let's have a look at Ashes Creation. Let's have a look at the tank. I'm going to pause this from time to time. This is the Ashes of Creation soundtrack in the background. So let's have a look, and we're going to talk about each ability as we kind of go through. So you know what a tank is, right? I mean, the tank, standard tank, normally gets aggro in the typical trinity of MMORPGs. A tank in a dungeon or in an instance or whatever, larger group content, is the person who soaks up damage, taunts the main boss, the packs of mobs, everything else. This isn't something that is really used in Guild Wars 2 that much, other than in raids or in potentially PvP as a support kind of tanky class. In Elder Scrolls Online, this is very much a class and very much something which is used in dungeons, in raids, and in group content. If you want to run that kind of thing together, and people do that, sometimes they do. Final Fantasy 14 as well, tank, healer, trinity, etc. Guild Wars 2 system works a little bit differently. But there are skills in here which are very, 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 you know, they remind you of a tank, a typical tank archetype. So let's have a look. And here, you got the male and the female character model. I've got to say I'm a little bit, I think they're going to have this. I'm not sure whether or not they're going to have this in the creation menu. This is an important thing for games of the future, MMORPGs as well, to be more fitting with the communities that play their games, is that I'm hoping that there will be some kind of way that they can allow you to not potentially create a male or female character. There'll be some kind of way where you can, you know, sliders or something where you can actually create some kind of whatever you want, whoever you want, you know, in all honesty, because the world is very different to the way it was back when MMORPG started out, and, you know, just thinking about everyone and trying to be inclusive. Hopefully that's something they do. So this is a Kalar tank. I guess that's the race, or I don't know. I'm not sure what that means. Again, I am not massively au fait in everything Ashes of Creation. But the active skill tree levels 1 to 10. Okay, so these are all the skills you get from level 1 to 10. I am assuming that's a nice horse. Armor, fairly basic. I think they're not going to show you all the fancy bits and bobs right now, are they? There's a fire. The mounts look cool as well. Okay, already you can see some nice, you know, NPC art right there. I'm just gonna kind of pause it. Okay, so weapon toss. Throws your weapon at your target, dealing damage. Generates additional threat. So threat is very much a World of Warcraft and other MMORPG kind of terminology, where you basically, threat is just the NPCs will attack you more. So the more you use these different abilities which inflict threat on the enemy, or increase your threat, sorry, means that they will have more of a chance to attack you. So it's going to be based on the amount of threat and taunting and whatnot that the tank does to make sure mobs do attack them. So that looks like a ranged pull. This is at your target. Let's see if it hits more than one. So that's an AoE kind of, or a free target. It doesn't say how many targets that actual weapon toss hits. But it looks like it's in kind of AoE-esque type of threat pull, which is like a ranged pull. That looks pretty cool. Animation looks nice as well. Typical tank kind of thing. Bulwark, there we go. There's the shield as well. Straights your target and increases your block chance and generates additional threat. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of skills where you are able to generate a lot of threat. And I think this has been a problem in the past with different MMORPGs. There's only been a couple of abilities where you've been able to generate threat to taunt enemies and whatnot. And it feels like this tank archetype is very much focused on that specific line of theme, like that theme, you know, I am a tank, boom. And then, you know, there's the secondary archetype, which is what we were saying before, cleric, fighter, etc., which will then accentuate your class and make you more unique. So, and I'm wondering what that's going to bring to the party, but this is still early days. So let's have a look at that again. Animation looks all right. I like that secondary one. Is that kind of part of it? And then it's got these kind of little miniature shields up top, which means your block chance, I guess, is increased. Oh, it's got the shield on top of them as well. I'm not sure what that means specifically. If it's going to show it from a different angle. Yeah, that shield coming up above them might mean that they are currently targeted on them, or it just means that their block chance is increased. I'm not sure what it means on top of their head as well. That's not massively obvious. Whoa, look at that guy. That is an interesting thing. It's like a crab spider thing from the sea. His face kind of reminds me of like a squid or something. I don't know. Anyway, ultimate defense provides increasing mitigation based on missing health up to full invulnerability. Wow. that kind of language is very obtuse and probably shouldn't exist in the game. One thing that developers, I hope, learn as well is how to refine their tooltips and their language to be more inclusive of everyone who plays their game, so that they describe exactly what that means. We know what mitigation means, you know, it's mitigation against damage. So, you know, it means decreasing, to be honest, really more than anything. And this is mitigation based on missing health. So the more missing health, I'm assuming it means less damage you take, up to full invulnerability, sorry. I'm not sure what that means. So maybe like if you have hardly any health at all, you become invulnerable to damage until you get healed, and it lasts for a certain amount of time. Again, it's very obtuse, doesn't really explain exactly what they mean. Hopefully I've kind of translated that in a way which makes sense. It does reduce movement speed while active though as well. So it means if they run away, or this is maybe a PvP ability, which might be quite helpful. That could be a thing as well. Let's have a look at the actual animation. I've got to admit though, graphically, it's very much okay at the moment. And then I know like this is alpha and I don't know how many passes they've made on this, but at the moment the graphics are kind of okay. They're not like out of this world amazing. Like ESO's graphics are pretty damn good, and I think Guild Wars 2 at the moment as well, but for the art style, it's pretty damn awesome as well. Same with kind of Final Fantasy. I guess the character models are pretty good and everything else. The landscape is a little bit outdated, but I haven't got that far yet. I'm not up to date. I feel like the world is what we're going to be looking at in terms of the animations and everything of the actual character models right now. They're kind of looking okay. This guy on the right hand side looks all right, but I've seen equally as good animation and graphic style at the moment in like Elder Scrolls Online, for example. Just as a secondary kind of thing to mention. Again, though, as you see the animation kind of ends, it does kind of stop very suddenly. Again, this is still early, I feel, and that's something that they're probably resolving. I don't know if that's the truth though. That is a very cool animation. Javelin, so pulls your target to your location, generates additional threat. There are pulls in games like Guild Wars 2 with the Dragon Hunter, of course. Guild Wars 2 doesn't really have a tank specifically, and those abilities aren't really used to make threat or increase threat. There are taunting abilities from characters, but that's not really what they're for. It's more of them to kind of just pull focus onto them rather than anything else for a moment in time, rather than generate threat and to tank enemies for a long period of time. So this is really focused on that ranged pull and also a PvP potential as well with that javelin ability. Generates additional threat is where you're going to see it more in PvE, of course, but that pull looks quite fun as well. Let's have a look at it again. I like how it stays inside their chest for a moment. It reminds me of like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. That's pretty cool. Okay, so Lacerate slashes your target, dealing instant damage and bleeds the target over time. Generates additional threat. Looks like a very basic ability, just does bleeding damage as well. I wonder if there's going to be like a damage tank where you can kind of leech health as you're tanking as well. Very much similar to something in Elder Scrolls Online where you are a Nightblade tank and you can leech health and stuff like that. Could be interesting. Don't know if that's going to be the case. If I look on my little bar, don't think that's going to be a thing. Let me have a look actually. Tank with Rogue. Night Shield. Tank primary archetype combined with Rogue. Secondary is Night Shield class. Okay, that's interesting. So that could be a thing. You never know. Night Shield. Don't know. I'm just speculating really. Basic ability though, looks like. Whoa! Did he just put the blade through their head? Don't see that very often. Oh, damn, that's good. Yeah, hopefully they change that because that kind of looks weird. If you just, that looks like it should be some kind of finishing move, to be honest. Okay, Mechadon. Mechadon, that's a race in Crowfall. Weird. Strikes your target and increases your damage mitigation. Generates additional threat. Again, all of these tank abilities are operating as their archetype, as a tank. They generate threat mostly, do a little bit of damage. They're defensive, increased block, they do damage mitigation. That is pretty much what this archetype is about. And again, you know, with the secondary, it will complement them in a plethora of different ways. That's how I see it. Anyway. Looks cool, actually. It reminds me of like 100 Blades from Guild Wars 2, that kind of. There's going to be so much influence from different MMOs in this and different games where you can be like, oh wow, that's an ability from ESO, that's an ability from Final Fantasy 14, that's from Guild Wars 2, that's from whatever other game we play. Wow. Main reason I mainly mention those 3 games, those are the most I'm playing at the moment, as World of Warcraft on top of that. I am a very experienced MMORPG player, more so probably than mostly anyone you will watch. I guarantee it. I pretty much got to like end game and raided in each and every single one of the games I've just mentioned, including World of Warcraft very recently as well. Final Fantasy 14 is probably the least experience I have in. I have done some raids in there as well, so I've got quite a lot of experience, as well as like PvP, massive world v world kind of realm versus realm MMORPGs as well. I don't mind that animation. Not too bad. There you go. There's the charge. So charge your target. So this is called Onslaught. Charge your target provides a small damage absorb shield and generates additional threat. That's quite cool. Can kind of imagine that being a PvP ability as well. Again, additional threat, absorb shield, but charging in, standard thing, you know, you've seen from many tanks and many different MMORPGs. Big balls pull. It's a nice animation as well. Let's have a quick look at that again. Kind of like that. Oh no, we didn't. We just failed, Gibber. That was a massive fail. Is that Mechadon again? That's quite a big charge as well, in all honesty. They should change that animation. That jump looks a little bit dodgy, but okay. Okay, so Shockwave. So you can tell what this is going to do. Stops the ground in front of you, knocking down and dealing damage to all targets. Generates additional threat. So it's going to be like an AoE taunt. I guess it could be used as a taunt, but an AoE threat generator, which just maintains your threat and does AoE damage, as well as like CCing. I'm wondering if this is going to be an interrupt as well, along with that javelin pull. Could be a nice interrupt. So you're thinking about interrupts as well as something you think about on the tank. Also, some of those abilities where it says damage mitigation, wondering whether or not that is for your group as well. So resounding smash. Smashes the ground in front of you, dealing damage to all targets. A second hit resounds on the primary target. So, okay. Looks like you do an AoE hit, but the main target is going to take a bit more damage on the second smash, and it generates additional threat. Okay, what's the second hit then? Must be from like the fire on the ground? Or is it hit? Let's have a look again quickly at that. Not sure what the second hit means really there, to be honest. Okay, maybe it's the initial axe hit and then the knockdown, maybe. Not clear about that. Might need a little bit more explanation or a better representation kind of in the graphical representation of that as well. A little bit confusing. Looks cool though. Animation weapon looks great as well. And then you've got some kind of random gameplay. Ooh, see this looks awesome. I need more of that. That's what I want to see more of. So let's have a look at its entirety. That is going to be the skills from level 1 to 10. And again, you know, combining this with the secondary archetype is going to mean that you are a class. So if you think, let me just tell you what the classes are along with this. So if you're a tank primary and your secondary is a bard, it means you're going to be Argent. If you're going to be a tank with a cleric, you're going to be a paladin. If you're going to be a tank with a fighter, you're going to be a knight. A tank with a mage sounds very interesting. It's going to be a spell shield. With ranger, it will be warden, which is a very cool class in Elder Scrolls Online. With rogue, it's going to be knight shield. With tank, with summoner is going to be keeper. And then a tank, which apparently has a secondary as a tank, is going to be a guardian. So I guess it's going to be like full-on tank, awesome craziness, la-di-da, etc. So there you go. You get the basic gist of what the tank archetype is. It does exactly what it says on the tin. And I'm wondering what other abilities are going to be in there and what that means when you cross it with the secondary class. Now, I don't know what that means right now for me in terms of that, you know, extra passives and everything else. Whether or not they know yet, I don't know either. I haven't done that research. This is where I am at. I am very much looking forward to this game and more information coming out. I wish I could play the alpha. I wish I was more involved. I've just had my focus on so much other stuff in the mmorpg world, as well as single player games and everything else in Twitch and school as well. So if you have enjoyed this video, let me know. Do you want to see more reaction videos? Do you want me to give my opinions and reactions on the abilities and different stuff within the game? Could go over the mounts. There's so much other stuff they revealed. Just interested to see what you think about that. Otherwise, this has been me, Jebro Uni, going through some Ashes of Creation tank revealness of awesome. I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.